So now what we're going to do is create a new material and drag our robot texture on it. Make the base color green, and this is going to be our neutral robot character, our neutral bot. Yeah, that neutral bot. So neutral bot, matte. Okay. So drag our robot on. Okay. Then go to robot, apply this material. Okay, now we got ourselves a neutral robot. Now we don't want any of these scripts on there because that's just for our player. We want to create a script called neutral bot. Okay. So open up our neutral bot script and define a variable called aware distance. It's going to be a float and it's going to be 15.0 meters. Our scare distance is going to be a float. It's going to be 10 meters. Our player transform, that variable is going to be needed to define the distance between our bot and our player, and if the distance is less than 10, then it's going to be scared. Going to need to define a run speed, float 4.0, and create an AI status. Okay, idle equals 0 and scared equals 1. Make a private var, call it status, and it's going to equal our AI status, and by default it's going to be idle. Var controller is it's going to be a character controller we define in the inspector. Another private variable is going to be a move direction again, and of course vector3 0 by default. In the awake function, controller equals get component character controller. Okay. Oops, looks like I deleted the end parenthesis. Okay. So in our update function, our main loop, some call it, we're going to call the check status method or function. Check status So every time update is called, check status is going to be called as well. And after check status is called, we're going to make a switch statement. So switch status. If it's idle, call the idle function. So in the case of AI status idle, idle function is called, and then break it. Now, if the case is scared, then we need to call the runaway function, which we haven't defined yet. So function idle, and also function scared, or function runaway. Okay, so the case AI status scared run away. And then break. In our check status method, or function, whatever you want to call it, we're going to want our bot to run away from the player. So whatever direction our player is facing, we're going to want the bot facing the opposite of that direction. So transform dot Euler angles dot y is going to equal negative player dot transform dot Euler angles dot y. And actually, I want this to be in the runaway function. Sorry about that. So if our bot is scared, then we're going to call runaway, and we're going to want our bot facing the opposite direction of where the player is facing. Also want to move direction vector 3 0 0 40. That's just going to be, that's just like a made up number that's going to help our bot decide which way to go. And move direction transform dot transform direction, we're going to convert it to world space by that. Move direction. We're going to multiply that by our speed, our run speed, float variable. So times equals run speed. And our controller is we're gonna call the simple move function, which just moves a character with speed. So simple move direction. Multiplied by time dot delta time. And after all that's called, we want to have our animation. So animation crossfade, run away. So back to our check status. So it's going to be called every time update's called, just right after it. And what it's going to do is it's going to define a variable called dist, which is short for distance. It's going to be player position and minus this dot transform dot position magnitude. Just returns the length. And then we're going to make an if statement based off of this number to see what this number is, and if it's going to be a certain length like 10, then it's going to be scared, and I'll show you how it works. If distance is less than scared distance, status equals AI status scared. Else, if distance is greater than aware distance, then our status is going to equal AI status.idle. And doesn't know what scared distance is because I didn't put a D right there. Okay. So let's see what it does.